You realize that I read this book in less than 24 hours and I had dreams about this book tonight and I was like, well, fuck it, I have to make a review for it, don't I? Hello, beautiful bookworms! My name is Katarina and welcome to my channel. And am I obsessed with this book? Yeah, kinda, sorta. Maybe, possibly, of course I totally am. I am calm. I know how to review stuff and I won't let the hype get to me. Or so I hope. But who am I kidding? That's not possible. Okay, so now that I've calmed down a little bit and that you probably read the title of this video and that you probably know what I'm going to talk about, I'm just gonna go right up and say it. I'm gonna make a talk, a book talk, a review talk, a book chat, whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna gush about Vicious by V.E.Schwab. And first of all, I want you all guys to consider that this is my first V.E.Schwab, also known as Victoria Schwab, book ever. And I want you guys to consider that I actually pre-ordered Vengeful, which is the sequel for this book that is going to come out, I think, in September, before I ever read this book. And I pre-ordered City of Ghosts before I ever read anything of Victoria Schwab. And I have A Darker Shade of Magic, only the first one, because I bought it in Portuguese and we still don't have the other ones translated, because if we had, I would already have them without having read anything. So I was betting everything on V.E.Schwab because of all the hype that I've been hearing about, and because the topics that she writes about sounded amazing, and because, let's face it, she's the greatest person alive, because I follow her on Twitter and she's pretty cool. So I was betting everything on her, as I was saying, and I was kind of preoccupied because I said, shit, I'm going to start reading Vicious and I'm not going to like this shit, and how do I take my money back and that sort of thing. But thank God that did not happen, and I could stand here and say I knew that that was not going to happen, but I didn't actually. I just caught up in the hype train and I read it and I absolutely fucking love this book. Like, I can't take it out of my mind. I love it. It is great. I don't know what else to say, just go buy this book. Okay, review over, that's okay, now that I show you the perfect cover of this book and now that I gushed what I wanted to gush, let's just divide this video into two small parts because this cannot be too long because I have stuff to do. And the first one is going to be like a non-spoiler sort of review-ish, what this book is about and what I thought generally about it. And the second part, I'm just gonna gush a little bit because I have this need and I have to gush. And I know that pretty much the entirety of the booktube community already read this. So if you guys are out there, discuss Vicious with me because I am completely obsessed. Like, I have nothing better to do with my life. Okay, I do. I do, but let's pretend that I don't. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, where are you? Vicious is basically the story about these two main characters, Victor Vale and Eli something. What was his name? It was Eli Cardale, right? Bear in mind that I finished this book late last night and I already don't remember that character's name. So that can possibly point out which one of the characters is my favorite, but... Okay, so this is a story about Victor Vale and Eli Cardale, and they are basically roommates and colleagues in their college, and they are in the last year of college in which you have to make a thesis application. And basically, through some events, their theses combine with each other and they start to wonder if they can actually discover what makes an extraordinary. And in this world that V.E.Schwab created, an extraordinary is kind of a superhero, a person with superpowers that actually exists and that can be made, or so they think, throughout a near-death experience. So you have to die, and when you come back to life through an ordeal of what you were feeling in the moment that you were dying, and if you actually had the will to live through it, you would gain superpowers that would correspond to the way that you died. And that was basically like the thesis that they had in mind. But everything goes shit when they stupidly, in my opinion, decided that they want to actually take this out of the theoretical field and prove it in a practical field. Which you should never do when you don't know, in theory, what could possibly happen. And take it from me, I am doing a neurological thesis. You should never, ever try to do a practical thing when you don't know the theoretical correct basis for it. And if you're still doing like a theoretical discovery, you should first implement on that before you go to the practical field, especially if you go to the practical field with human beings. And I'm not saying test stuff on animals, because I have some problematics with the way that stuff are tested in animals, but I can assure you that starting with human beings when you don't even know a premise for what you are doing, it's not safe, and that's not going to end up well. And if it did, we would not have this amazing book. So I'm kind of happy that they were such dumb kids. So obviously, as you can understand, this book is an adult book because your characters have 21 to 22 years old in the college sort of part of the novel. And then you have the novel 10 years later when Victor Vale is coming out of jail and you don't know why. And he is looking for Eli to actually murder his sorry ass. And you don't know why, and you don't know what went wrong because these two people were friends and now they want to kill each other. And that's basically all I can say without ruining the entire book for you. So I'm just gonna tell you about what I felt like while I was reading the book, because I can't say anything else because it will be spoilery. So at first I went with the book cautiously, like I was very apt out, but I decided that I should go cautiously. But I started reading it, and the thing with this book was that the chapters were really, really small and always ended in like powerful sort of sentences that you want to go to the next chapter and know what was going on. And also the fact that you go between present and past is also pretty fucking amazing, because you always want to know what happened in the past to bring them to the standing point that we are now. Also, I really love the secondary characters that appear in this book. And I'm not going to say anything else about that because that will be considered a spoiler, so yeah, shush. In terms of pacing, this was a really fast-paced novel, and sometimes I have to say that I was reading and I was like, you skipped a lot of things that you could have probably talked about, but that's okay because the essential of the thing is there. And we are now up to date with what our characters think and why they're doing the things that they are doing. And that's basically what is the most important thing when you have not a plot so much developed as having just one motive to do one thing. And this will be a lot easier if I was talking spoilers, I have to say. So what I'm going to do is just telling you, if you haven't read this book, you should, because the sequel is coming out, and God knows that I'm going to read that as soon as I have it in my hands. And this is a great, great book. Even for those of you that don't enjoy superhero movies or don't enjoy comics or everything, this is a really cool book. Firstly, because you don't have the typical superhero / villainous kind of thing. You have two very specific anti-heroes and antagonists that actually are not a model in morality. They are very morally gray, and they do stuff for their reasoning, of course, and they think that they are right, both of them. So that is really cool to just explore in terms of what is morality, what is good, what is evil. Do your motives actually can be an apology for what you are doing, and do they, or should you be doing that according to your motives? It's kind of complicated, but you have a lot of discussion topics that you can use in this book. It can give birth to a lot of discussion about a lot of things, and it's really cool. And if you like superheroes and if you like comics, then your way is paved out for you, my friend, because this is so cool. Like, you don't have the superhero kind of thingy, because we could discuss that neither one of our characters is actually a hero and neither one of our characters is actually a villain, although I have some opinions. But you have morally gray characters that are kind of antagonists and anti-heroes, and that is pretty cool. It's kind of like watching a movie just about the antagonists of the superheroes, like, and how they would react to each other, and that would be pretty cool. So, that's all I have to say for the non-spoiler people. And now let's talk a little bit of spoilers. So this is your warning. Spoilers are coming in 3, 2, 1. Right now. So first of all, I have to say that I love the way the character dynamics were in this book. I actually, as you can probably understand by everything that I've been saying right now, I actually prefer, in this moment in time, I prefer Victor Vale to Eli Cardale. Because I think that this was done purposefully, but because we are seeing things kind of from his perspective, although it is in third-person narrative, he's more focused on. And I think that that was intentional to make us sympathize with his point of view. And to make him be that type of character that does things, you know, like Batman. Because Batman doesn't have a lot of morality in him. And Victor Vale does not have a lot of good reasoning within him, although we can discuss if he's a good person or not. In my point of view, there's no such thing as a good person or an evil person, but I believe that he has good motives and good things at heart to do what he does. So I think that you're supposed to care more for him than for Eli, especially because Eli is presented to you, although someone suffering from some childhood trauma, because you know that his dad actually whipped him for some reason that you never know what that is, and I hope that you know in the sequel, but whatever. He's presented to you like someone that is able to manipulate people how he wants, and that he's the rich boy that has everything and that can do anything and gets away with anything. And Victor is presented to you as that weirdo that is actually really intelligent and he just wants to be the best, and that is probably rooted in all of his childhood problems with his parents. And so he's the fucked up one, he's the weirdo, he's the low underdog that you're supposed to root for. And in my opinion, the book is written like that, for you to like support him more, which is why I hope that Vengeful is kind of written more from Eli's perspective, so that I can understand more of his perspective, although there are some parts in Vicious that you actually get to know Eli a little bit more and his reasonings. And I think that what he's trying to do is not inherently evil. He's not killing EOs because he actually enjoys doing so, but because he has this religion sort of thinking that kind of propels him in that direction. What I think is wrong is not the motives why he's doing what he's doing, is that he can't stop but thinking, as Serena tells him in one of the parts, and I really love Serena, and I'm going to get that fairly soon. As Serena tells him, if the other EOs are damaged, and if they have something missing, and if they are wrong, then so are you. Because you cannot possibly think that we all have this, and God just loves you. Like, and something that Victor tells him, like, if everyone does not understand you and think that you are wrong, maybe you should start thinking that there could be motives that make what you're doing wrong, and that you should stop and think about that. What I think is that Victor Vale is a very calm and ponderate person, and he can understand what is wrong and is right, although he doesn't feel emotional empathy. And Eli does not even begin to understand what is wrong and it's right. He just convinces himself of stuff. And I don't know how mentally stable he is right now, because that doesn't seem like a fairly normal choice. But to the secondary characters, I love Mitch because how can you not love Mitch and his chocolate milk? But I have to say that I do love Serena's character and her development with Eli's character. So she's supposed to kind of be like his sidekick, but she's powerful enough to kick his ass. Because you have to admit that when you have someone that has the ability to manipulate and control however she wants, it's kind of difficult for her to be a sidekick. She just wants to emasculate herself into everything that Eli does. And that relationship is fairly problematic. Like, I could see that relationship being sort of Joker Harley Quinn-ish, but with Harley Quinn kind of being the manipulative one, which was kind of fun. But I loved their dynamic, the way that they didn't have a romance. They didn't, but that dynamic was so cool. It was so toxic. And yes, it was toxic, okay? It was cool in a way that you know that that shit's going to end up badly, but it was freaking cool. She was the reason that Eli lost, because Eli was so dependent on her without even noticing it, that he never thought for 1 second that anyone could be rid of her and fuck his life. So that's why he lost, because he was too concentrated in that little bubble that she created for him, which was not a very good help after all. And I love that every day she would tell him, "You will not kill me today." And he was like, "One day you're going to forget to say that." And I was like, he so badly wants to kill her, and she is so badly enjoying the situation that this is not... These people need mental counseling. But it was so great. I absolutely love these dynamics. I also love Sydney, because she was kind of the one, and maybe because she was younger than everyone in here, she was actually the only one capable of maintaining her humanity after she died and was transformed. And that was because she believed in second chances, and that's where her power came from. She believed in people, she believed in life, rather than just thinking egotistically and self-centered as all of the other characters, that bad things happen to them, so everything is bad and they're all empty. And obviously she still feels that hollow thingy, which you're supposed to lose because you died, but she doesn't consider that an important piece of her life, and that's how she's different of them all. And I think that that's how she kind of develop her relationship with Victor a little bit more than maybe he was hoping for. But in the end, he just ended up doing stuff because she wanted to, like saving that military guy, because he did save him, obviously because it would be cool for him to use him, and he put it in the plan, but also because Sydney asked him to. And the fact that they rescue her, and the fact that he promised her that no one was going to hurt her, and other things like that. Like, he didn't have to say it. He didn't have to do this. And he did. And he stopped looking at her like an object and started looking at her as a person. And I did enjoy that. I really love this. So, now I have to talk about the ending, which was... And I'm talking a lot about character dynamics and not a lot about plot, because the plot was fairly one-sided. By which I mean it only had one thing going on. And that thing was, these two want to kill each other, and so there's going to be a time when they will come together and a fight will occur. And before that, we will only be telling you why they want to kill each other and what they are doing in the process to actually get to kill each other. So, it wasn't the strongest plot that I've ever seen, but it had some plot twists, it had some cool shit. Actually, I started getting tired at one point. That was just the only thing that I thought it was kind of sad. That every single fucking time that Mitch came into contact with a Neo, you thought, shit, that's the time. He's gonna die. Oh shit. And no, because he had a bulletproof vest and because he had emptied his gun. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, this is supposed to have consequences. People are supposed to die. What the fuck is going on? And I was really upset with that, but then I understood that it was kind of Victor's plan and that Mitch isn't actually dumb. he's fairly smart, so obviously he would know that getting into contact with Eli without wearing a vest would get him killed. So yeah, but I was kind of mad that nobody actually died, because this is supposed to be impactful. And you can say, are you stupid? Like, a lot of VOs died in this book. And I would say, yes, but do you even care about them? Sorry, of course you should. They were people, but you don't care about them. You care about the main characters. And none of the main characters died except for Serena, which you were seeing that shit coming, because if she never died, Eli would never be vanquished. So you were seeing that shit coming. I really enjoy the fact that even throughout all of her doubts, she was actually this good person that loved her sister and told her to run away to somewhere safe instead of killing her. That was a beautiful moment, and I shed a little tear right there. And then it passed, because everything was happening so fast. This is so fast-paced. And so, that's that. This is very fast-paced. It's not la. But the ending. That was the only thing. First of all, supposedly Victor came back to life again because of Sydney. But when she resurrected Barry Lynch, supposedly Barry couldn't use his powers anymore. So I am now interested to see if, because she knew Victor, she was able to resurrect him correctly with his powers, or if he will not have his powers throughout the entire Vengeful book. Which kind of concerns me, because what will he do without his powers? Because obviously Eli is going to break out of jail. Like, come on. He is going to break out of jail. But yeah, I don't know how that's going to process. And second of all, I didn't really like it that Sydney actually brought Victor back from the dead. I love Victor, don't get me wrong, and Vengeful without him would obviously not be the same thing, but if you know that you can be resurrected, then your death and everything that you do and stuff that you risked is not as important, and it's not as a point making as it should be. And obviously I know that that was also a taunt to Eli, so that he would always think that Victor was alive, and he actually is. But I didn't like it. Someone was supposed to have died in that fight. Obviously I'm not for carnage, but who am I kidding? I am. But I really think that one of them, in the end of this freaking duology, has to die. Or they have to make peace with each other and make amends. But would you like that? I don't know if I would like that. I would like for Vengeful to make us care a little bit more about Eli, and not to make us not care about Victor, so that when they have their final showdown, because they do have to have one to see if someone dies, you would be really preoccupied with them both and wouldn't be able to make bets on who you want to die. And then that someone died, because, or both of them, they both could die, because they both did something that they shouldn't have, and they propelled an entire freaking nightmarish sequence of living, and they destroyed everything in their lives and in other people's lives. So they should die, both of them. Wouldn't that be a cool ending? Why am I advocating for people dying? Like, okay, I should stop this review right now. So I know that this was a little bit confusing, but this is all that I have to say about Vicious by V.E.Schwab. I love this book, and I really hope that you would discuss them with me in the comments down below, but if you don't want to, that's fine. When Vengeful comes out, I am thinking of maybe doing a reading vlog, just showcasing what I'm feeling about what I'm reading, and I can't wait for Vengeful. I can't really wait, and I am so glad that I pre-ordered that book, and I am in a Schwab hype right now. I'm going to make a Schwab shrine in this house, and I want to read more V.E.Schwab. So, that is all for today, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you like it, leave a like or subscribe, and yeah guys, that is all for today, and happy readings to you all. Bye!